The morning fog rolled across the training grounds at Fort Benning like a gray blanket, muffling the distant sounds of military exercises. Sergeant Maya Chen adjusted her gear one final time before stepping through the entrance of the Advanced Sniper Course facility. The building looked ordinary enough from the outside, but she knew that beyond those doors lay one of the most challenging military programs in the United States Army. Maya had arrived at the base 3 days earlier, along with 23 other soldiers from various units across the military. The selection process for sniper school was brutal, and many who entered would not make it to graduation. She carried her duffel bag over one shoulder and her rifle case in the other hand. The case contained her personally owned M24 sniper weapon system, a rifle she had used extensively during her previous deployments. As she entered the building, Maya noticed the other candidates already gathering in the main briefing room. Most were men, which did not surprise her. She had grown accustomed to being one of the few women in specialized military training programs throughout her career. What did catch her attention was the way some of the other soldiers looked at her. Their expressions ranged from curious to skeptical, and a few seemed openly dismissive. "Look what we have here," muttered Specialist Rodriguez, a stocky soldier from the 82nd Airborne. He spoke just loud enough for several others to hear. "They really are letting anyone into sniper school these days." Maya ignored the comment and found a seat toward the back of the room. She had heard similar remarks before and had learned long ago that actions spoke louder than words. Let them underestimate her. It would only make proving herself more satisfying. The briefing room door slammed open, and Master Sergeant Williams entered with the purposeful stride of a combat veteran. His weathered face bore the scars of multiple deployments, and his eyes held the sharp focus of someone who had seen action in the world's most dangerous places. Behind him followed Staff Sergeant Martinez, a lean man with the quiet intensity that marked experienced snipers. "Welcome to the Advanced Sniper Course," Williams announced, his voice carrying easily through the room. "Over the next 8 weeks, we will push you beyond your limits. We will test your patience, your precision, and your mental fortitude. Most of you will fail." He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "This course has a 90% failure rate. We do not lower standards for anyone, regardless of gender, rank, or previous experience. You will earn your place here, or you will be sent home." Williams began pacing in front of the assembled soldiers. "Some of you think you are already expert marksmen because you qualified with your rifles in basic training. Others believe that playing video games or hunting deer makes you prepared for what we do here. You are all wrong." Maya listened carefully to every word. She had no illusions about the difficulty of what lay ahead. Despite her extensive combat experience, she knew that sniper training required a completely different set of skills. Patience, calculation, and the ability to remain motionless for hours were just as important as marksmanship ability. "We will begin with equipment inspection," Martinez announced. "Each of you will present your assigned rifle for examination. Those of you who brought personal weapons will also have them inspected for compliance with course standards." The soldiers began forming a line, each carrying their weapon cases. Maya noticed that most had the standard issue rifles provided by their units. A few carried personal weapons, but hers was one of the more distinctive rifles in the group. When her turn came, Maya approached the inspection table and carefully opened her case. Martinez examined the rifle closely, checking the scope, trigger mechanism, and overall condition. His expression remained neutral as he inspected each component. "This weapon has seen extensive use," he observed, running his finger along the stock where small notches had been carved into the wood. "What are these markings?" Maya had hoped this question would not come up, at least not on the first day. The small marks carved into her rifle stock were something she had added during her previous deployments. Each mark represented a confirmed enemy kill, a practice that some soldiers followed to keep track of their combat effectiveness. Battle tallies, Sergeant, she replied quietly. Martinez counted the marks carefully, his expression growing more serious with each one. There were far more marks than would be expected from a typical infantry soldier. When he finished counting, he looked up at Maya with new interest. 37 confirmed kills, he said, loud enough for nearby soldiers to hear. Where did you see this much action? Afghanistan and Iraq, Sergeant. 3 deployments with the 75th Ranger Regiment. A murmur ran through the nearby soldiers. The 75th Ranger Regiment was an elite unit, and their deployment rotations typically involved some of the most dangerous missions in those theaters of operation. The number of confirmed kills suggested that Maya had been involved in significant combat operations. Williams approached the table, drawn by the unusual conversation. He examined Maya's rifle more closely, paying particular attention to the battle tallies and the weapon's overall condition. His experienced eye could tell that this rifle had been maintained by someone who understood its importance for survival in combat. Rangers, huh? Williams said, studying Maya more carefully. What was your MOS? 11 Bravo, Sergeant. Infantry. And you are here because? Maya had prepared for this question. Her reasons for attending sniper school were complex, involving both professional development and personal goals that she preferred not to discuss in detail. I want to expand my skill set, Sergeant. Precision marksmanship is becoming increasingly important in modern combat operations. Williams nodded slowly. The answer was reasonable, even if it did not tell the complete story. Many experienced soldiers sought additional training to advance their careers or improve their effectiveness in specialized roles. Your rifle passes inspection, Martinez announced, closing the case. Make sure it stays in this condition throughout the course. As Maya returned to her seat, she noticed that the atmosphere in the room had changed. Some of the soldiers who had seemed dismissive before were now looking at her with increased respect. Others appeared more competitive, as if her proven combat record had challenged them to work harder. Specialist Rodriguez, who had made the earlier comment about letting anyone into sniper school, was staring at her with a mixture of surprise and reevaluation. The battle tallies on her rifle had spoken more loudly than any words could have. The first day of training began with classroom instruction on the theory and mathematics of long-range shooting. Williams covered topics including wind calculation, bullet trajectory, and range estimation. Maya found herself taking detailed notes, even though much of the material was familiar from her combat experience. The theoretical knowledge was one thing, but applying it consistently under controlled conditions was another challenge entirely. In combat, she had often relied on instinct and experience gained through necessity. Sniper school would require her to break down those instincts into precise, repeatable techniques. During the lunch break, several of the other soldiers approached Maya with questions about her combat experience. Some were genuinely curious about what it was like to serve with the Rangers, while others seemed to be sizing up their competition. 37 confirmed kills is impressive, said Corporal Thompson, a soldier from the 101st Airborne. Most of us have never seen that level of action. Maya was uncomfortable discussing her combat record in detail, but she understood that her fellow students were trying to understand her background. Combat experience varied widely among military personnel, and many soldiers completed entire careers without firing their weapons in anger. Every deployment is different, she replied diplomatically. The Rangers get sent where the fighting is heaviest. It comes with the territory. What she did not mention was that her high kill count had come at a personal cost. Each mark on her rifle represented not just an enemy eliminated, but a moment when she had been forced to take a life to protect her fellow soldiers or accomplish a critical mission. The weight of those decisions stayed with her, even years after the events. The afternoon training session moved to the rifle range, where each student would demonstrate their basic marksmanship skills. This was often where the first failures occurred, as soldiers who had looked good on paper struggled to perform under pressure. Maya watched as her fellow students took their turns at various distances, starting with targets at 300 yards and working up to longer ranges. The results were mixed, with some soldiers showing promise and others clearly struggling with the fundamentals. When her turn came, Maya approached the firing line with the same calm focus she had developed during combat operations. She adjusted her rifle's position, checked the wind conditions, and calculated the necessary adjustments for the range and environmental factors. Her first shot struck the center of the target at 300 yards. The second and third shots grouped tightly around the first, creating a cluster that would have been difficult to cover with a quarter. She moved to the 500-yard line and repeated the performance, then again at 700 yards. Martinez watched through binoculars as Maya fired, noting the consistency of her technique and the precision of her shots. Her movements were economical and practiced, without the hesitation or overthinking that plagued many beginning snipers. "Outstanding shooting," he called out as Maya finished her final string. "That is exactly the kind of precision we expect from our graduates." As the day's training concluded, Maya began to understand why the course had such a high failure rate. The physical and mental demands were intense, and the standards were unforgiving. Even her extensive combat experience would not guarantee success if she could not adapt to the specific requirements of sniper training. That evening, as the soldiers returned to their barracks, Maya reflected on the events of the day. The revelation of her combat record had changed how others perceived her, but it had also created new expectations. Some of her fellow students now viewed her as someone to beat, while others seemed to expect her to help them improve their own performance. She cleaned her rifle carefully, a ritual she had performed countless times during her deployments. The familiar motions were calming, and the precision required helped clear her mind of the day's stress. As she worked, she thought about the challenges that lay ahead. The next morning brought new trials. Physical training began before dawn, with a grueling run through the Georgia pine forests surrounding the base. Maya had maintained her fitness since leaving the Rangers, but the pace set by the instructors was demanding even for experienced soldiers. Following the run came camouflage and concealment training. Students learned to blend into various environments using natural materials and specialized equipment to become nearly invisible. This skill was crucial for snipers, who often had to remain hidden for extended periods while observing enemy positions. Maya found this aspect of training particularly interesting, as it differed significantly from the more aggressive tactics she had employed with the Rangers. Infantry operations typically involved rapid movement and decisive action, while sniper work required patience and the ability to remain motionless for hours. During one exercise, students were required to camouflage themselves in a wooded area while instructors attempted to locate them using binoculars and spotting scopes. Maya drew on her experience with patrol techniques and observation, creating a hide that effectively concealed her position. Several students were discovered quickly, their camouflage inadequate or their positions poorly chosen. Others lasted longer, but eventually gave themselves away through small movements or improper concealment techniques. Maya remained undetected throughout the entire exercise, earning praise from Martinez when the session concluded. Her understanding of how to use natural terrain and vegetation to break up her outline had served her well. As the first week progressed, the academic requirements intensified. Students learned advanced ballistics calculations, weather effects on bullet trajectory, and the use of sophisticated optical equipment. Maya excelled in these areas, her combat experience providing practical context for the theoretical knowledge. However, she also began to notice friction with some of her fellow students. A small group, led by Rodriguez, seemed resentful of the attention her performance was receiving from the instructors. They began making subtle comments about special treatment and questioning whether her previous experience gave her an unfair advantage. The situation came to a head during a target identification exercise. Students were required to observe a complex training area and identify potential threats among civilian mannequins and military targets. The exercise tested both observation skills and the ability to make rapid decisions under pressure. Maya completed the exercise successfully, correctly identifying all threats while avoiding civilian targets. Her time was among the best in the class, and her accuracy was perfect. "Show off," Rodriguez muttered as the results were announced. "Easy to do well when you have real combat experience to draw from." Maya turned to face him, her expression calm, but her voice firm. "Everyone here has the same opportunity to succeed or fail based on their own effort. My experience does not make this course any easier." The confrontation might have escalated, but Williams intervened before the situation could develop further. He addressed the entire class about the importance of supporting one another through the challenging training program. "Each of you brings different strengths and experiences to this course," he said. "Some have extensive combat backgrounds, others have technical expertise, and still others bring fresh perspectives. Success here depends on your ability to learn and adapt, not on comparing yourselves to others." Despite the instructor's words, Maya could sense that tensions remained beneath the surface. She had faced similar challenges before, and knew that the only real solution was to continue performing at her best while treating her fellow students with respect. As the first week concluded, 3 students had already been removed from the program for failing to meet basic standards. The remaining 21 faced increasingly difficult challenges in the weeks ahead, and Maya knew that more failures were inevitable. She spent her weekend preparing for the challenges ahead, studying course materials, and maintaining her equipment. Her rifle remained her most trusted tool, and she took particular care to ensure it remained in perfect condition. The battle tallies carved into the stock served as a reminder of what she had already survived and accomplished. Each mark represented not just a successful engagement, but proof of her ability to perform under the most extreme pressure. Whatever challenges sniper school might present, she had already proven herself in the crucible of actual combat. The second week would bring new tests of her abilities, and Maya was determined to meet them with the same focus and determination that had carried her through 3 combat deployments. The whispered doubts of her fellow students only strengthened her resolve to prove that she belonged in this elite training program. As she prepared for sleep, Maya reflected on how far she had already come. From the initial skepticism of her classmates to the growing recognition of her abilities, the first week had been a success. But she knew that the real challenges still lay ahead, and that success would require every bit of skill and determination she possessed. The second week of training began with stalking exercises, perhaps the most challenging aspect of sniper training. Students had to move across open terrain while remaining undetected by observers equipped with powerful optics. The exercise required absolute patience and the ability to move so slowly that progress was measured in inches rather than feet. Maya positioned herself at the starting line along with her remaining classmates. 2 more students had been eliminated over the weekend for academic failures, leaving 19 candidates still in the program. The attrition rate was following its predicted course, and everyone understood that more eliminations were inevitable. The target observation post was located 800 meters away across a field of tall grass, dotted with fallen logs and scattered brush. Students had to approach within 200 meters while remaining completely invisible to the instructors manning the observation post. The exercise would take most of the day, and failure meant immediate removal from the course. "Remember," Williams announced before the exercise began, "real snipers sometimes spend days moving into position for a single shot. Speed is not your friend here. Patience and concealment are everything." Maya studied the terrain carefully through her binoculars, identifying the best route and noting areas where the ground offered better concealment. She had performed similar movements during combat operations, but those had usually been under cover of darkness. Moving during daylight required different techniques and extreme caution. She began her approach using the leopard crawl, moving forward only when the wind stirred the grass enough to mask any movement. Each advance covered only a few inches before she froze again, allowing several minutes to pass before the next movement. The technique was exhausting and required tremendous mental discipline. Rodriguez started his stalk from a position about 50 meters to her left. Maya noticed that he was moving too quickly, advancing in spurts that covered several feet at a time. His camouflage was adequate, but his movement pattern would eventually give him away to the experienced observers. After 2 hours of painstaking progress, Maya had covered less than 200 meters. Her muscles ached from maintaining awkward positions, and sweat stung her eyes despite the relatively cool temperature. She could hear some of her classmates breathing heavily nearby, the stress of the exercise taking its toll. A whistle blast echoed across the field, followed by an instructor's voice calling through a megaphone. "Specialist Rodriguez, you have been spotted. Exit the exercise area immediately." Maya watched as Rodriguez stood up in frustration about 100 meters ahead of her position. His stalking attempt had failed, and his expression showed both anger and disappointment as he walked back toward the starting line. That made 6 students eliminated from the program in less than 2 weeks. She continued her methodical advance, timing each movement with wind gusts and using every available piece of cover. A fallen log provided excellent concealment for nearly 50 meters, allowing her to make better progress while remaining completely hidden from the observation post. By late afternoon, Maya had reached the 200-meter mark that indicated successful completion of the exercise. She had been moving for over 6 hours and felt as though she had run a marathon. Only 7 other students had successfully completed the stalk, meaning that 4 more had been eliminated during the day. "Outstanding performance," Martinez told the successful students as they gathered at the extraction point. "You have demonstrated the patience and discipline required for real sniper operations. Those who failed today learned why this course maintains such high standards." Maya felt a sense of satisfaction at completing the exercise, but also sympathy for the classmates who had been eliminated. Military training was always difficult, but sniper school seemed designed to push people beyond their perceived limits. That evening, the remaining students gathered in the barracks common area to discuss the day's events. The elimination of nearly half the original class had created a more serious atmosphere, with everyone understanding that their own survival in the program was far from guaranteed. "This course is harder than I expected," admitted Corporal Thompson, who had successfully completed the stalk but looked exhausted from the effort. "I thought my hunting experience would prepare me better for this kind of work." "Hunting animals and stalking trained observers are completely different skills," replied Staff Sergeant Davis, an older soldier with multiple deployments. "Animals rely on hearing and smell more than sight. Human observers are specifically looking for the kinds of movement we make." Maya listened to the conversation while cleaning her rifle, a routine that had become meditative for her. The discussions about hunting reminded her of the fundamental differences between sport and combat applications of marksmanship skills. "Chen, what do you think?" Thompson asked, drawing her into the conversation. "Your ranger background probably included this kind of training." Maya considered her response carefully. Her experience with the Rangers had included extensive patrol and reconnaissance training, but much of it had been focused on different tactical situations than those emphasized in sniper school. "Rangers train for direct action missions," she replied. "We learn stealth and patience, but usually as a means to get close enough for an assault. This is different because the concealment itself is the primary objective." The conversation continued as the students shared their experiences and concerns about the remaining weeks of training. Maya appreciated the opportunity to bond with her classmates, but she could sense that some underlying tensions remained. The next day brought marksmanship training at extended ranges. Students would engage targets at distances up to 1,000 meters, requiring precise calculations for wind, elevation, and atmospheric conditions. This was where mathematical precision became as important as shooting skill. Maya approached the 1,000-meter line with confidence. Her combat experience included successful engagements at similar distances, though usually under more stressful conditions than the controlled environment of the training range. She carefully adjusted her scope for the range and calculated corrections for the crosswind that was affecting the target area. Her first shot struck within 2 inches of the center, followed by 2 more shots that formed a tight group. The performance drew approving nods from the range instructors. Several other students struggled with the long-range requirements. The mathematical calculations were complex, and small errors in wind reading or range estimation resulted in significant misses at these distances. By the end of the session, 2 more students had been recommended for elimination due to consistently poor marksmanship. "Excellent shooting, Chen," Williams commented as Maya packed her equipment. "Your experience shows in your ability to read environmental conditions. That kind of practical knowledge cannot be taught from textbooks." The compliment was gratifying, but Maya noticed that it also drew resentful looks from some of her remaining classmates. Her success was creating a perception that she had unfair advantages, despite the fact that everyone had access to the same instruction and practice opportunities. During the lunch break, she overheard a conversation between 2 students who had struggled during the morning session. "Easy for her to look good when she already knows this stuff," one was saying. "The rest of us are learning from scratch while she gets to show off skills she learned in combat." Maya considered addressing the comment directly, but decided that confrontation would only make the situation worse. Instead, she focused on her own performance and tried to set an example through her dedication and professionalism. The afternoon brought urban environment training, where students learned to operate in built-up areas with civilians present. This type of scenario had become increasingly common in modern conflicts, requiring snipers to make precise discriminations between legitimate targets and innocent bystanders. Maya found this training particularly relevant to her combat experience. Many of her engagements with the Rangers had taken place in urban settings where civilian safety was a constant concern. The ability to make accurate threat assessments quickly had often meant the difference between mission success and tragic mistakes. The exercise involved a mock village constructed on the training base, complete with mannequins representing various categories of people. Students had to identify and engage only legitimate military targets while avoiding civilian casualties. Points were deducted for missed threats or civilian casualties. Maya scored perfectly on the exercise, correctly identifying all threats while avoiding any civilian targets. Her target engagement was precise and efficient, with every shot resulting in immediate neutralization of the designated threat. "Outstanding performance," Martinez announced as he reviewed her targets. "This is exactly the kind of discrimination and precision we need from our snipers in modern combat environments." The praise was well-deserved, but Maya could see that it was further aggravating the tensions with some of her classmates. Her consistent high performance was creating unrealistic expectations and making others feel inadequate by comparison. That evening, the situation came to a head during study time. Maya was reviewing ballistics tables when Specialist Brooks, one of the students who had been struggling, approached her with obvious frustration. "Must be nice to already know everything," Brooks said, his voice loud enough to attract attention from other students. "Some of us are actually trying to learn this material instead of just showing off what we already know." Maya looked up from her books, keeping her expression neutral despite her growing irritation. She had tried to be supportive of her struggling classmates, but their resentment was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. "I study the same material everyone else studies," she replied calmly. "Combat experience provides context, but it does not eliminate the need to learn new techniques and procedures." "Right," Brooks said sarcastically. "That is why you ace every test and exercise while the rest of us are fighting just to keep up. The instructors should have put you in an advanced class instead of letting you dominate this one. The confrontation was drawing attention from throughout the barracks area. Maya could see that other students were watching to see how she would respond to the direct challenge. "Everyone here volunteered for this course," she said, standing to face Brooks directly. "We all knew the standards when we applied. My success does not prevent anyone else from succeeding." Brooks seemed ready to escalate the confrontation further, but Staff Sergeant Davis intervened before the situation could get out of hand. "Enough," Davis said firmly. "We are all on the same side here. Brooks, focus on your own performance instead of worrying about what others are doing. Chen, perhaps you could share some study techniques that might help everyone improve." The suggestion defused the immediate tension, but Maya could see that the underlying problem remained. Her demonstrated competence was creating divisions within the class that could affect everyone's performance. Over the following days, Maya made an effort to be more helpful to her struggling classmates. She shared study techniques and offered advice on marksmanship fundamentals, trying to demonstrate that she was not trying to show off or dominate the class. The assistance was appreciated by some students, but others seemed to view it as condescending. Brooks, in particular, continued to treat her help with suspicion, as if her offers of assistance were somehow motivated by a desire to highlight his weaknesses. The third week of training introduced night operations, adding another layer of complexity to the sniper mission. Students learned to use night vision equipment and thermal imaging systems, engaging targets in complete darkness while maintaining the same precision standards required during daylight operations. Maya had extensive experience with night operations from her ranger deployments, but the specific techniques taught in sniper school required adaptation of familiar skills to new equipment and procedures. The night vision scopes used in the course were more sophisticated than those she had used in combat, offering better resolution and range. The first night exercise involved engaging targets at ranges up to 600 meters using only night vision equipment. Students had to identify targets, calculate firing solutions, and make accurate shots without the visual references available during daylight shooting. Maya performed well on the exercise, successfully engaging all assigned targets within the time limits. Her familiarity with night vision equipment allowed her to adapt quickly to the specific characteristics of the school's systems. However, she noticed that several other students were struggling significantly with the night operations. The reduced visibility and unfamiliar equipment were creating problems for even some of the stronger performers in the class. Brooks failed the night exercise completely, missing all of his assigned targets and taking far longer than the allowed time limit. His frustration was obvious as he packed his equipment after the exercise. "This equipment is completely different from anything I have used before," he complained to another student. "How are we supposed to master it in just a few days?" Maya overheard the comment and considered offering advice about night vision techniques, but decided that Brooks would probably not welcome her help given their previous confrontations. The next morning brought news that 3 more students had been eliminated, including Brooks. The night operations had proven to be a significant obstacle, reducing the class size to 11 remaining candidates. Maya felt sympathy for Brooks despite their conflicts. He had worked hard throughout the course and had shown improvement in several areas. His elimination demonstrated how unforgiving the standards were, even for dedicated students. "The night operations phase eliminates more students than any other part of the course," Williams explained during the morning briefing. "The reduced visibility and unfamiliar equipment reveal weaknesses that may not be apparent during daylight training. With fewer than half the original students remaining, the atmosphere in the class became more intense. Everyone understood that they had survived longer than most, but that the final weeks would present even greater challenges. The 4th week focused on field exercises that combined all the skills learned in previous weeks. Students would spend several days in the field, conducting simulated missions that required stalking, concealment, observation, and precision shooting under realistic conditions. Maya welcomed the opportunity to apply her training in a more realistic environment. The controlled conditions of the training ranges and classrooms were useful for learning specific techniques. But field exercises would better demonstrate practical application of sniper skills. The first field exercise involved a 3-day mission to observe and report on activity at a simulated enemy compound. Students worked in pairs, with one serving as the sniper and the other as the spotter. The roles would alternate between team members throughout the exercise. Maya was paired with Sergeant Jackson, a quiet soldier from the 10th Mountain Division who had performed consistently well throughout the course. Their partnership worked smoothly, with both soldiers contributing their strengths to the team effort. They established their observation post in a wooded area overlooking the target compound, carefully constructing a hide that would conceal them from detection while providing clear fields of observation and fire. The position required them to remain motionless for hours at a time while monitoring activity in the target area. Maya found the extended observation periods mentally challenging but manageable. Her combat experience had taught her the importance of patience during reconnaissance missions, and she was able to maintain focus throughout the long watches. Jackson proved to be an excellent partner with strong technical skills and the ability to maintain detailed observation logs. His mathematical abilities were particularly helpful when calculating range and wind corrections for potential engagements. On the second day of the exercise, their position was tested when instructors conducted a search of the area using methods similar to those employed by enemy forces. Maya and Jackson remained completely motionless for over 4 hours while searchers moved through the woods nearby. The test was successful, with their hide remaining undetected throughout the search. The experience reinforced the importance of proper concealment techniques and the discipline required for extended operations. Their mission concluded successfully with accurate intelligence reports and simulated target engagements that met all course standards. The field exercise had demonstrated their ability to apply classroom knowledge under realistic field conditions. As the remaining students gathered for the exercise debrief, Maya reflected on how much she had learned during the past month. Despite her extensive combat experience, the specialized techniques of sniper operations had required significant adaptation and study. The course was entering its final phase, with only the most challenging exercises still ahead. Maya knew that her survival this far was no guarantee of ultimate success, and that the remaining weeks would test every skill she had developed. Williams addressed the 11 remaining students with obvious satisfaction. They had proven themselves capable of meeting the demanding standards of the course, but the final challenges would determine who earned the right to graduate as certified snipers. "You have demonstrated the fundamental skills required for sniper operations," he told them. "The final phase will test your ability to apply those skills under maximum pressure. Some of you will succeed and others will fall short. The standards remain the same regardless of how far you have come." Maya understood that her past accomplishments, symbolized by the battle tallies on her rifle, had brought her to this point. But graduation from sniper school would require her to prove herself once again under the most demanding conditions the course could provide. The final week of sniper school arrived with an unexpected announcement. Williams gathered the 11 remaining students in the briefing room, his expression more serious than usual. Behind him stood a colonel Maya did not recognize, wearing the insignia of Special Operations Command. "Students, this is Colonel Harrison from SOCOM," Williams began. "The final exercise has been modified to reflect current operational requirements. You will be conducting a live-fire exercise with real-world applications." Harrison stepped forward, his weathered face bearing the marks of someone who had spent considerable time in combat zones. His presence immediately elevated the atmosphere in the room, suggesting that the final exercise would be unlike anything they had experienced so far. "Intelligence has identified a terrorist training camp operating in a remote area of the southeastern United States," Harrison explained. The facility has been under surveillance for months, but recent intelligence indicates they are planning to relocate soon. Your final exercise will support the actual operation to neutralize this threat." Maya felt her pulse quicken. She had expected a challenging simulation for the final exercise, but the prospect of supporting an actual counterterrorism operation was far beyond what anyone had anticipated. Harrison continued his briefing with detailed intelligence about the target facility. The camp housed approximately 20 individuals who had been training for domestic terrorist attacks. They possessed military-grade weapons and had established defensive positions around their compound. The primary assault will be conducted by FBI tactical teams supported by military units, Harrison explained. Your role will be to provide overwatch and precision fire support from concealed positions. This is not a training exercise. Live ammunition will be used and the targets will be armed and dangerous. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The students had trained for weeks to develop the skills needed for sniper operations, but none had expected to apply those skills in actual combat during the course. Each team will be assigned specific observation and fire support positions, Harrison continued. You will coordinate with the assault teams and provide accurate intelligence about enemy positions and movements. If necessary, you will engage designated targets to protect the assault force. Maya felt a familiar sensation as her mind shifted into combat mode. The nervous energy that had characterized training exercises was replaced by the calm focus she had developed during her Ranger deployments. This was the environment where her experience would prove most valuable. Williams assigned the teams to their positions, with Maya and Jackson tasked to cover the northern approach to the compound. Their position would provide overwatch for the primary assault route, while maintaining fields of fire on several key defensive positions. As the students prepared their equipment, Maya noticed that the dynamics within the group had shifted. The competitive atmosphere of training had been replaced by a shared understanding that they would be depending on each other in a potentially dangerous situation. Sergeant Jackson approached her as she checked her rifle one final time. His expression showed both excitement and nervousness about the upcoming operation. "I am glad to be partnered with you for this," he said quietly. "Your combat experience is going to be valuable when things get serious." Maya appreciated his confidence, but she also understood the weight of responsibility that came with it. The other students would be looking to her for leadership and guidance, especially if the situation became more dangerous than anticipated. The teams deployed to their positions under cover of darkness, moving through dense forest to reach observation points overlooking the terrorist compound. Maya and Jackson established their hide in a tree line approximately 400 meters from the main buildings, with clear lines of sight to multiple potential target areas. Through her scope, Maya could observe the compound layout and identify several individuals moving between buildings. The intelligence briefing had been accurate about the defensive preparations. Guard positions were well concealed, and the terrorists appeared to be following military-style security protocols. "Contact!" Jackson whispered into his radio, reporting the establishment of their position to the command post. "Overwatch Alpha in position and ready." Similar reports came from the other sniper teams as they established their positions around the compound. The coordination was smooth, reflecting the high level of training the students had received over the past 7 weeks. Maya settled into her shooting position and began the methodical observation routine that would continue until the assault began. Through her scope, she cataloged enemy positions, movement patterns, and potential threats to the assault force. The waiting period stretched for several hours as the FBI tactical teams moved into their assault positions. Maya had experienced similar delays during her Ranger operations, and she used the time to refine her understanding of the target area and prepare for various contingencies. As dawn approached, radio traffic increased as the various elements coordinated for the simultaneous assault. Maya could feel the familiar pre-combat tension building, but her training and experience kept her focused on her mission requirements. "All elements, this is command," came the voice over the radio. "Execute, execute, execute." The assault began with flashbang grenades and coordinated entry from multiple directions. Maya watched through her scope as FBI agents moved toward the main buildings, their movements coordinated and professional. Almost immediately, defensive fire erupted from several concealed positions around the compound. The terrorists had been prepared for an assault and responded with organized resistance that posed serious threats to the attacking force. "Contact front," Jackson reported, identifying muzzle flashes from a position near the main building. "Enemy fighter in the wood line, approximately 50 meters north of Building 2. Maya shifted her scope to the indicated position and quickly identified the threat. A terrorist armed with an automatic rifle was firing at the advancing FBI agents from a concealed position that gave him an excellent field of fire. "Target identified," Maya reported calmly. "Taking the shot." She calculated the range and wind conditions quickly, her combat experience allowing her to make the necessary adjustments without conscious thought. The crosshairs settled on the center of the terrorist's chest, and she applied steady pressure to the trigger. The shot broke cleanly, and the target dropped immediately. Maya worked the bolt of her rifle smoothly and scanned for additional targets. Her actions automatic after years of combat experience. "Target down," she reported, "scanning for additional threats." The assault continued for several more minutes, with sniper teams providing crucial support by eliminating threats that the assault force could not easily address. Maya engaged 2 more targets during the operation, each shot precisely placed and immediately effective. When the compound was finally secured, the operation had been a complete success. All objectives had been achieved without casualties to friendly forces, and the terrorist cell had been neutralized permanently. During the after-action briefing, Colonel Harrison specifically recognized the performance of the sniper students. Their precision fire support had been instrumental in preventing casualties among the assault force. "The marksmanship and tactical judgment displayed today was exceptional," Harrison told the assembled students. "You successfully transitioned from training to real-world operations without losing effectiveness or precision." Maya felt a sense of professional satisfaction at the successful completion of the operation, but also relief that no friendly personnel had been injured. The mission had demonstrated the practical application of the skills learned during the course. Williams addressed the students after Harrison departed for his return to SOCOM headquarters. The successful completion of the live fire exercise had proven that the training program was producing the quality of snipers needed for modern military operations. "You have successfully completed the most demanding sniper course in the United States military," Williams announced. "Your performance during the final exercise proved that you possess both the technical skills and tactical judgment required for real-world operations." The graduation ceremony took place the following day, with families and unit representatives attending to recognize the achievement of the successful students. Maya felt proud of her accomplishment, but also humbled by the difficulty of the training she had completed. During the ceremony, Williams called each graduate forward to receive their sniper qualification and recognition for their achievement. When Maya's name was announced, she approached the podium with the same calm professionalism she had maintained throughout the course. "Sergeant Chen represents the highest standards of this course," Williams announced as he presented her qualification. Her performance throughout training and during the final exercise exemplified the precision, judgment, and dedication we expect from our snipers. The recognition was gratifying, but Maya was most satisfied by the knowledge that she had successfully adapted her combat experience to the specialized requirements of sniper operations. The skills she had learned would make her more effective in future assignments and better able to support her fellow soldiers. After the ceremony, Several of her classmates approached her to congratulate her on her success and thank her for the assistance she had provided during training. The competitive tensions that had marked the early weeks had been replaced by mutual respect and professional admiration. Sergeant Jackson, who had also graduated successfully, expressed appreciation for their partnership during the final exercise. His performance had been outstanding, and Maya was confident he would excel in his future sniper assignments. "Working with you during the live fire exercise taught me a lot about staying calm under pressure," Jackson said. "Your combat experience really showed when things got serious." Maya appreciated his words, but she also recognized that his own performance had been exceptional. The successful completion of the course required both individual excellence and the ability to work effectively as part of a team. As she prepared to leave Fort Benning and return to her home station, Maya reflected on the experience of sniper school. The 7 weeks had been among the most challenging of her military career, requiring her to learn new skills while adapting existing knowledge to different tactical situations. The battle tallies on her rifle stock had originally drawn skepticism and resentment from some of her classmates, but they had ultimately served as a reminder of her capability under pressure. Each mark represented not just a successful engagement, but proof of her ability to perform when lives depended on precision and judgment. Williams approached her as she loaded her equipment into her vehicle for the return journey. His expression showed the satisfaction of an instructor who had successfully guided a challenging student through demanding training. "Chen, your performance throughout this course was exceptional," he said. "You successfully integrated your combat experience with advanced sniper techniques to become one of our most capable graduates." Maya thanked him for the training and mentorship she had received. The course had challenged her in ways she had not expected, requiring adaptation and growth even with her extensive military background. "Where are you headed next?" Williams asked. Maya had received new assignment orders while completing the final week of training. Her successful graduation from sniper school had opened opportunities for specialized assignments that would make use of her enhanced capabilities. "Fort Campbell," she replied. "Special Operations Aviation Regiment. They need snipers qualified for helicopter operations." Williams nodded approvingly. The assignment would allow her to combine her Ranger background with her new sniper qualifications, supporting special operations missions that required precision fire from aerial platforms. "That is an excellent assignment for someone with your background," he said. "Your experience with both conventional and special operations will be valuable in that role." As Maya drove away from Fort Benning, she considered the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. The successful completion of sniper school represented another step in her military career, but also a personal achievement that had required significant dedication and perseverance. The hostility she had initially encountered from some classmates had been disappointing, but not unexpected. Military training environments were inherently competitive, and her proven combat record had created unrealistic expectations and resentments. However, the final exercise had demonstrated the value of experience combined with proper training. Her ability to remain calm and effective during the live fire operation had not only contributed to mission success, but also earned the respect of her fellow students. The battle tallies on her rifle would soon include additional marks from future operations, but they would always serve as a reminder of the foundation of experience that had carried her through sniper school. Each mark represented a moment when training, experience, and determination had combined to achieve mission success. Her new assignment would present different challenges and require continued adaptation of her skills to new tactical situations. The specialized nature of helicopter sniper operations would demand integration of marksmanship skills with the unique challenges of aerial platforms. Maya looked forward to applying her enhanced capabilities in support of special operations missions. The combination of her Ranger background, combat experience, and advanced sniper training would make her a valuable asset to her new unit. As the miles passed beneath her wheels, Maya reflected on the transformation she had undergone during the past 2 months. She had entered sniper school as an experienced infantry soldier, seeking to expand her capabilities. She was leaving as a qualified sniper with proven ability to perform under the most demanding conditions. The skepticism that had greeted her arrival at Fort Benning had been replaced by recognition and respect from instructors and fellow students alike. Her success had not come easily, but it had validated her decision to pursue advanced training despite the challenges she knew she would face. The battle count on her rifle had spoken louder than words when doubts about her capabilities had surfaced. The 37 marks represented a level of combat experience that could not be questioned or dismissed, providing proof of her ability to perform when precision and judgment were matters of life and death. Maya's graduation from sniper school represented more than personal achievement. It demonstrated that determination and proven capability could overcome initial skepticism and prejudice. Her success would inspire other soldiers facing similar challenges while contributing to the continued excellence of military training programs. The road ahead stretched toward new assignments and responsibilities, each offering opportunities to apply the skills she had worked so hard to develop. Maya drove confidently toward her future, secure in the knowledge that she possessed the training and experience needed to meet whatever challenges awaited her in her continuing military career.